Hello, hello.
Hey.
Everyone, this is Biweeklycast. This is episode 62. I would still say the usual thing that hosts are still here and things are the same, even though they may not be. I'm Dima Malenko at any rate.
I'm Slava, and today we don't have a topic to discuss, but we have something else.
Look, we have an announcement to make, and it immediately becomes a topic to discuss. How do we break the news for people?
I think as professional podcasters, we are kind of professional podcasters. We are around, how many episodes did we get in the first run?
More than 100 well, I want to say even more than 200.
And then 62 in the second parts.
So that's
hundreds.
A lot. In hundreds, yes.
After hundreds of episodes, we're going to restart the show or relaunch or change the format or just go into a next season if you like.
Right. Switch gears. That would be not the first time we do this, but officially we would say that this would be the last episode of the season 2. We can call it season finale.
Yep. Let's probably start with the fact, how do you feel about it?
I don't know, it is, that's a good question. And probably that's one of the last times folks are getting this kind of content from us. Like, how do you feel about stuff? We will get to how the new style of episodes are going to look like. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm in general kind of person who is excited about new things and possibilities and opportunities those new things can bring. So I'm part sad that the second episode is ending, but also I'm hopeful and excited about the new beginning.
Yeah, the same here. Fun fact, in the first run, we recorded 269 episodes, and we ended that season, if you could name those years a season, in around September. Mm-hmm. I believe that this episode will also be published around September. But that was 2022, and now it's 2025, so 3 years and 62 episodes deep in.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, like many people do it every half a year.
They may have reasons to do that. Maybe so the change itself, if we break it for people. So previously, folks may not have noticed, or they should have noticed, but they may not have done so. Our episode was structured as overall the cadence was structured as there was an episode with the topic that you bring, then episode with the topic that I bring, and then we have a book club. And back early in the day, we also have episodes with guests, but that didn't last for too long. So this is what we used to have, I can say. Now and going forward, we would be looking at a more topical episodes, like focused on a specific topic that I guess I'm tasked with bringing to the conversation. We're still going to explore the topic in a conversation, but it would be more about topic and less about us and our personal developments. And we will still do book reviews because we like book reviews, didn't we?
Yeah. I think we could just switch the format from just getting into something new and fiction stuff into something more related to work, something that we probably have read or we would recommend or we wouldn't recommend reading, and for specific reasons. And I think that one more thing we could highlight is that episodes are going to be a bit more autonomous. Previously, in order to catch up, we would have all the follow-ups, and sometimes we would even record a few episodes in a row, having a single conversation, and here we would try to make it bite size, so something that would be fit into a single discussion. And I think something we could refer to during public speeches, private conversations, business consulting, team discussions, etc.
That's exactly right. And then we are going to make them more professionally focused, if you will, right? Exploring topics related to being a professional, I guess, in a little bit of engineering from my side, but also management and leadership. Probably, I'm saying probably, I should say we would not do kind of fiction book reviews unless maybe this is like super special occasion like Halloween or something like that, where we would want to spook people with something weird.
Should we try talking about the reasons of this change?
Yes, we can try. We can always try it. I think the way I look at life is the only thing we can do. We can only try to affect some sort of a thing. We often cannot do it directly. So let's try to discuss.
In case you're listening to this episode, chances are you have been with us for a little while. And you know that this has evolved from an English-speaking podcast into soft skill managerial kind of podcast. Then we switched the language of the show, and we did a lot of just lifestyle things that were fun and interesting. Personally, to me, you introduced me to podcasting, and it kind of shaped my understanding of this industry at the first place. And I think that during all this way, you and I were discussing I can't say the success criteria, but our personal goals that we have from the show. And most of them were just keep talking, discovering, and digging a bit deeper. But then there was always a little concern that we were not getting people engaged into the conversations. It was always hard for us to build the community. All our attempts with chats and getting people to comment and having the conversations were kind of struggling. And we also were struggling speaking about the episodes for broader audiences. And I think for like 6 or 7 iterations of this conversation, we discarded this thing. Like, no, let's just keep going, keep recording. Mm-hmm. That's a nice lifestyle thing. And it is a very nice lifestyle thing in many regards. This, like, in many ways, this show has shaped my personality and my professional understanding of many things as a manager. But I think that we should definitely react to our more actual goals and needs. Mm-hmm. And they are to be able, I think it was your last theme about the year of out, when you mm-hmm. tried to bring your thoughts outside of your bubble. And with me launching the podcast Stratosphere about a year ago, I tried the same thing. So it kind of clicked, and we think that we should try it here as well. I'm not sure about the topicality, or like whether we will be very different from people who have been with us for quite a while, but we will definitely try to engage people a bit more and to get more feedback from the episodes. I'm sorry, I was a bit talkative.
No, that's right, and that's a good summary. I think over the course of years, there was this bit where, at least me, for myself, and I think I projected a little bit of that onto both of us on this kind of endeavor that we go through together, that the great podcast, this is the great podcast that I love to listen for years and years, are those where there is some sort of continuity between episodes, that the podcast develops its own lore and memes, and folks refer back to, like, remember the funny thing that happened back in the day. No one remembers when that happened, but people keep referring to that kind of in that community, and where also the episodes where a personality of hosts also kind of plays a role. You get to know, oh, this guy is about this thing, like this is his attitude, this is that other guy brings something different to the table. And I sort of always wanted to repeat that pattern, but I guess the more we went through, and with your thoughtful questions and reflections after some of the episodes, kind of we figured that in order for something like this to be successful, you need to be more of a public personality, which we, in all honesty, we aren't grand public personalities, especially with some of the more personal stuff, right? You don't, our listeners don't necessarily know our taste in terms of food or something like that. We always portray ourselves more or less as professionals, but try to stretch it into like the friendly, personal connection kind of territory, which was not very successful. And if you think about it, it could even be considered a little bit frustrating when we looked at the numbers and very occasional feedback from the listeners. And the thinking goes that, all right, let's not go against the nature. And if we love and enjoy kind of focusing on professional topics, let's focus on them more professionally and kind of in a truly focused manner.
Yeah, and that makes total sense. So in case you are listening to us and you have something to say about the previous format, please do come to our YouTube for this video and write a public comment. In case you're not a public personality, just like two of us, please do drop us a line somewhere on social media or messengers so we would know that you were with us during these years. And if you have something to say, corrective or supportive, we would be very...
Right, that's right. And also, given that we already sort of made this decision of switching into the new format and kind of the range of topics that we might discuss and how we would try to go about them, if you have questions or topics you'd like our opinion / maybe even advice on, please also post them and we'll do our best to thoughtfully answer the questions and discuss our ideas about how to go about those things.
You know, reflecting to our first season and second season, I could definitely say that we've grown quite a lot during these conversations. I remember that our first episodes were a bit more chaotic and we could talk for an hour without actually defining things we are talking about. We still occasionally slip into this thing every now and then, but I think we kind of refined the way we approach the problems.
Mm-hmm.
We do spend quite a lot of time on definitions and problem statement before we jump to finding some kind of life hacks or solutions. And I remember that you used to be way more radical, in many things.
Can you give an example of that?
My biggest hashtag for your radical approach would be what professional managers should or shouldn't do, or what they do or don't do. And now it's getting a bit more situational where all right, people could ignore this, you might do that or you may do that as a manager. But previously, well, actually, if you are a proper manager, you're supposed to do this, and that.
Oh, that's so funny because I think you're right. I mean, 100% agreement that we, well, I guess that the podcast, I should probably not to kind of extrapolate or project too much out here, but the podcast and myself, I felt like we grew over this time. I learned a lot talking through problems with you. Finding the definition of the thing that we are about to discuss is also immensely helpful. And if anything, one of the areas that I felt like I grew and which helps me now a lot is to understand and realize that should is such an unproductive word, because that's just wish casting. People should do X. Well, maybe they should, but it behooves you to figure out why they aren't doing that, because if they should do that and it was possible and that's the best thing for them to do, they would do it. But if they don't, there's something going on. You need to figure that out and work with that thing rather than just pontificate, get on the soapbox and pontificate that people should do this or that and vent about this.
In my case, I think I learned to appreciate the different perspective from your side, because in the first few hundred episodes, I would probably get defensive when you disagreed or you doubted some things. And over these seasons, I learned to listen more carefully to your questions and doubts, especially the subtle ones, because they usually are grounded on something more. If I don't just disregard them, but try to dig deeper, they always bring me to something very helpful.
I think I can mirror this reflection as well, because I learned to be, how do I put it, maybe less confident in my judgment of things. Maybe less confident is not the right word. I'm still as confident, but I now better realize the boundaries of that confidence. So I'm confident about the conclusion within the set of assumptions that I make, but I'm a lot more cognizant of the fact that the list of assumptions that I make may be incomplete. There may be some implicit things, or there may be things that I miss from overall understanding or description of the situation, which might render my conclusion incomplete. So I try to go as much as I can by that. It's not a proverb, I'm not sure how to call it, but the saying that goes along the lines of strong opinions weakly held. I'll kind of defend my view, but I try my best to remain open to evidence and correct my thinking as well.
As a side effect, something I noticed quite lately, that I think we learned to talk more clearly, because I was recording a video course for Prometheus a few days ago, and they told me like, wow, like you do it so clearly from the first try. We don't have to cut any noises or pauses because you can articulate your thoughts. Plus, it was way easier because they had this script, so I just had to read the thing, but still my articulation and intonations did improve within the years.
It helps. I think we both, like way back in the day, both of us, we did a little bit of Toastmasters and stuff like that. And there was sometimes even brutal, right? There is a special person who is tasked with counting all those O's and M's and then tell you that you did that gazillion times during your 2 minutes of speaking. Yeah, that made a great impression on me. This is how I started improving in that regard.
Well, we've learned a lot. We had some fun. It's been quite a nice season.
Yes.
9 years or so.
Well, yeah, the seasons can be different, right? Like I haven't read, forgive my ignorance here. I haven't read what's the book that is the inspiration of how, like the source for the Game of Thrones, right? The Song of Ice and Fire by, sorry, I don't, like, I cannot recall the name of the author. I only watched the HBO series, so my understanding of that universe fictional universe is like super limited. But there they had those things where kind of they have cycles of like good weather / bad weather, something like happening, but they are not regular. They do not have a predictable fixed length which is the same all the way. Like it can be summer that lasts for like 20 years and then there's winter for 3 years, like something along those lines. So we have basically the same thing. Our seasons are very different and they start and end when the stars align or misalign or something like that happens, and we know that now we are now in a new season.
You know, just yesterday I reflected on some past events and I realized that my company, Savvy, is 10 years old. We launched it in 2015. And I think Biweekly is something along those lines. I can't remember the specific date, but our first YouTube videos were on in July 2016, and it was already episode 20-something. Given the frequency, it should be somewhere there.
Yeah, I think we started around 2015, and I like somehow maybe like I want to say that we maybe started even a little bit earlier than Savvy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But also, like one more thing, like you said that we learned a lot and we had fun. Dare I say that we are going to continue learning and that we are going to continue to have fun, because otherwise, like, why do that if you're not having fun? And also if you're not learning, because learning is one of the most fun things you can do, I think.
So, you know, I appreciate all the feedback we got, all the provocative questions and corrections. I do appreciate, and I will totally miss your follow-ups.
That got me thinking when you said that we are not, like, episodes are going to be self-contained. We are not going to do follow-ups. I'm like, wait a minute, how come? But you're right. We indeed are going to try the episodes, to make episodes self-contained. And my thinking might be that, well, if the follow-up is worth it, probably we could do like the entire episode as a follow-up to go deeper into some additional aspect, but we probably will not have those corrective things referring to the previous episode. Maybe previous episode on this topic, yes, but not necessarily.
I think it does depend on the perspective, because what I can totally envision that you will have the follow-up episodes, an entire thing developed into a new idea or a new conversation, which sounds fun. So, well, we'll see.
Let's see. So I guess like this episode goes out, and then maybe in about a week time there will be first episode of new season.
Yep.
That's a very thoughtful conclusion. I think it sums it all. It's like you look into the like far away and tell you to yourself like, yep,
something new is coming, and we'll be glad if you join us on this way. And we are grateful for being with us all this time. And I guess we could traditionally, I'm not sure whether this ending is going to be part of the next season, but still wish everyone some good weeks.
Definitely thanks for being with us. I hope that you stay with us, and maybe we can get new friends and more engagement, more conversations on the topics that we outlined. And at any rate, thanks for being with us on this journey, and I'll let the new journey begin in a few good weeks.
Yay!